Cool. Can people at home hear me and see the screen? Can someone just make a sign there?
Gotcha.
Cool, thanks, Rayleigh. So my name is Ernesto Amaral. I'm gonna be the professor in this course. And all the course material is gonna be available in my website. And that's what I send it to you by email. If you don't remember it, just go to my website, the main page here, which is ernestoamaral.com. On the left here, under teaching, you can see demography, and then 2020 fall population and society. And I will be using Canvas for you to submit quizzes and exams. And also there will be a forum that you guys can ask questions, answer questions to each other. And that's where we post the grades. The university this semester gave professors the option to choose between Canvas or eCampus. And in this next academic year, professors can choose either one. But then after that, it's gonna be only Canvas. So I already decided to change to Canvas, so I'm not gonna be using eCampus now. Some people replied to my email asking about eCampus, so eCampus, we are not gonna use it. And just see something here. Oh, you can see that as well. So for those at home, you already know, you are accessing this class through the Zoom link, and I will be recording. I'm recording this class right now, and I'm gonna post it on YouTube under my channel here that you can just access there. You're gonna see that I have some lectures from the previous semester after the break when we moved online for spring 2020, and that's pretty much the same class as here. But I will just post again all these lectures that I will be having here now. Yeah, so let me just see if I can. I don't think you guys can see me at home, right? I don't know what happened with the camera here. Yeah. They can see the screen, right? But I think my picture is not appearing here. I don't know why. I have to play more with that, I guess. The syllabus is this document here right at the top, and then I'm gonna go through it right now. So at the beginning here is pretty much the same information, the course website, and this syllabus is also available in the Howdy. Canvas, the Zoom link, everything else. We will have office hours only online. I'm not gonna set up a time. Whatever time you wanna have with me, just try to make an appointment 3 days in advance, and then we can have an office hour. And this is my email. This is my office number. Probably will not find me there that often. I'm working more from home, but the email is this one. And in this class, we're pretty much gonna talk about demography. So it's an introduction to demography and an introduction to population studies. And in demography, we pretty much have three main components: fertility, mortality, and migration. And I'm gonna develop each one of these topics and kind of like make associations of a series of different subtopics related to fertility, mortality, and migration. So this course is about demography, is the scientific study of human populations, And also we study changes in size, composition, and distribution of human populations. The discussions about demographic issues will be linked to the methods needed to analyze these topics. This class here is more about it's really related to social demography, more related to the substantive problems related to demography in the country, in the world. It's not about methods. But even though it's not strictly about methods, I will explain also how we can estimate some of the rates that we're going to be talking here. So I will explain, I will show you some Excel spreadsheets and give you some more explanation about these methods. And so these are the subtopics that we're going to talk about: population growth and decline, age, sex composition. I'm going to show you some places where you can go and access data, access demographic data, which is public available data that you can get online. And I will also talk about how demographic transition, how changes in demographic components are associated with other socioeconomic outcomes. So what are these changes? What are these demographic transitions that we see over time? It's pretty much, in terms of fertility, women having less children over time. Mortality rates declining. But now with this pandemic, it's becoming even more complex. Mortality, what are the patterns of mortality rates, both internally and, I don't know. Can you all hear me? I'm sorry. You made a group me. Okay, you can hear me. Cool. So we'll keep going. I mean, this thing is just really complicated here. And we'll just put this. I don't want to show the chat here, so everybody's going to talk, pay attention to the chat and not pay attention to me. But so there are so many changes going on in the world in terms of fertility declining, mortality also changing patterns, and now we have this communicable disease that actually is increasing, and it's causing all this disruption in our societies, and also migration. Migration is linked, is a major demographic component, and we can analyze the rates of migration, both of people moving within the countries, internal migration, or between countries, international migration. So the main idea is that by the end of this course, you'll be able to identify main concepts and methods in demography related to fertility, mortality, and migration. Explain links between demographic changes, economic outcomes, and public policy issues. Evaluate general demographic trends through the world based on this public available data. When we talk about secondary data, it's data that someone else collected and we are analyzing, but they're all public available, such as the data from the Census Bureau. And perceive, analyze, and discuss the dynamics of human populations and investigate population issues from the perspective of the social sciences. I think I'm going to leave the chat here because if I've... Zachary, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Cool. The textbook, we're pretty much going to use one textbook, and it's available in the MSC bookstore. So I put it there, and you can check it out. But if you look at the prices, actually you have this other option of pretty much going to Amazon and they have a e-textbook that you can buy for $30, and you pretty much can read the book in your computer, in your tablet or phone. So that's the textbook that we're going to use, and it's organized in 16 chapters, and I will just follow these chapters throughout this course. It's not going to be in the same order of the book. I'm going to show you here in the syllabus, but all these chapters come from this book. And I will, of course, use some, does the first edition work as a substitute? The professor, Dudley Poston, who wrote this book, he clearly said that the second edition changed a little bit. So I would recommend that you getting the second edition because it goes a little deeper, and some of the chapters, they are different. So if possible, I would suggest you buying the textbook, and the cheapest way to get it is through Amazon on that e-textbook. Via our course website, they will provide everything else. The syllabus, the slides, the extra readings. The slides are already there, but I might change them throughout the course. So you can download them right now if you want to kind of have an idea of what you're going to talk about, but I might add some new things throughout the semester. Any question? Any question from home? I said that I was not going to use the chat, but it actually works fine. I thought would be too much stuff going on here on my screen. Cool. We will have pretty much 4 exams, each exam 20% of the final grade. And these exams will have 50 multiple choice questions and 0.4 points per question. And everything is going to be done through Canvas. I did this last semester for the first time on eCampus. And the way that I do, I just create a bunch of questions, a bunch of multiple choice questions. And the system kind of like for each one of you selects a group of questions randomly. And I say, for example, I want 3 questions from this subtopic about fertility. Other 4 questions about that subtopic about mortality. And then it selects, so your exams are not going to be the same, but whenever we have exams, they will be done all at home. We will not have classes. And I will explain this later here. The quizzes, pretty much we're gonna have 20 quizzes. Each quiz will be worth 1 point. And I was planning to do just each quiz 2 questions per quiz. So 0.5 points per question for multiple choice question. But this semester, the university required for this specific course and for other courses that we have specific assignments measuring critical thinking and social responsibility. So some of these questions, I will make them open short essay questions that you have to answer, but everything is going to be on Canvas as well. On pica.tamu.edu, as you know, that's where you can do, you can evaluate the class. So you can say what you like or dislike about the class, and you can write comments and everything. And here at the university, you have the early feedback and then the end of term of evaluation. So each one of those, there is a time window that you can answer the PICA evaluation. I looked at the website, I think 2 days ago, and those dates were not there yet. The dates were only for the summer term. So that's why I did not include here. But if 90% of you guys, because I just know the number of students who answered, I don't even know who answered this teaching evaluation. If at least 90% of you guys answer each one of these evaluations, all the class will get 2 extra points for each one of these evaluations, okay? So that's really simple. Last semester, in the early feedback, not at least 90% answered, so they didn't get the first 2%, they just got the final ones. And I had to keep sending emails until we reached that 90%. I hope you guys will be more fast about answering the evaluation. The exams, as I said, will be done on Canvas. On the day of the exam will be open from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Canvas. But once you open and you start doing the exam, you will have 1 hour and 15 minutes to answer it, which is the same time, the same amount of time that we have here in the classroom. So it's gonna be a really wide window from 1 to 8 p.m. But once you started, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to answer it. And there will be no face-to-face classes on exam days. The final exam, the same idea on the day of the exam. It will be open from 1 to 8 p.m. And as you know, the date of the final exam is going to be after Thanksgiving. So I just will do that same date, but the time window will be wider because the time window that you see on this link here is shorter. I think it's only 2 hours and a half, 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I will give you all these 8 hours. But once you start it, you're gonna have 2 hours and 30 minutes to complete it, okay? The quizzes, they will be available 5 minutes before the class finishes here. So it'll be available from 4:25, the day of the class. But you don't have to answer the quiz here. You can go to wherever place you want to go afterwards, to your home or anywhere. But just remember to answer the quiz before 8 p.m. And usually I will give 5 minutes to answer it. If it's multiple choice questions, 2 questions will be 5 minutes. But if it's the short essay questions, then I will give more minutes, okay? And the explanation about the quizzes and exams, you can look in this document here on my website, and I go in more detail about it. So the quizzes, I wrote here 2 questions at 0.5 points each and 5 minutes to complete. The online exam open from 1 to 8, but 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete. And then the final exam, 2 hours and 30 minutes to complete. I'm just following the university rules, okay? And this is just some tips for you to manage the time when you're answering the questions, and also suggestions for internet connections. And if you have any problems, try to write me in advance and don't wait until the last minute, really close to 8 p.m. to write me, okay? Will the exams be proctored? No. The way it worked fine with me last semester, I will just create a pool of questions for the topics that we will have in the exam. And I will set it up in a way in Canvas that Canvas will randomly select different questions for each one of you, and you have to answer. And as I explain here, the multiple choice questions will be randomly selected by Canvas from a pool of questions that I will create. These questions will not be the same for all students. The quiz or exam will shut down once the time limit has been reached. We'll close when the deadline has been reached as well. And we will only see 1 question at a time. You see 1 question, you answer, and you cannot go back and see the other question. We will be notified if the quiz questions are open-ended prior to taking it. The quiz questions, no. The quiz questions I will define on the day that I will give them. And I will, they will either be multiple choice, 2 multiple choice questions, and probably just 1 open short essay question. But for the exams and for the final exam, only multiple choice questions. But the quizzes, I will define each time whether there will be multiple choice and open short essay questions, but probably really few of them will be short essay questions. Any other questions? And by doing this system here, it's really hard for people to do in pairs or to help each other. That's the idea. And all this technology to do it proctored, it's great, but it's just so much more work for everybody here, and it's just everything is already so complicated. I just try to simplify things. So let me go back to the syllabus. Study groups. This class is not gonna, I'm not gonna grade on a curve, so I really suggest you guys to work on groups. I mean, of course, nowadays the working on groups would be the group me that one of your students already said that she or he created one. And I also suggest using the discussion board on Canvas. Discussion board, you can ask questions. I can also answer. Other students can answer your questions. So it can be a place, but on group me, I won't see any of the discussions. In Canvas, I will see the discussions. The advantage of discussing in Canvas is that I can help. But if you want to ask a question that you don't want me to see, it's better to do somewhere else. Okay, so it's like all these different possibilities. The teaching evaluation, that's what I already said. Office hours is supposed to help you with questions that you have after you attended the class. I'm making this class in a way to facilitate the most as possible for you guys to attend it. It can be live, it can be Zoom at the same time as a lot of you are watching now. And I'm recording this and I will post it on YouTube. So if you are sick one day, you have something that you cannot come to class and you cannot attend on Zoom, it's gonna be all on YouTube on that link that I provided to you. I will create another playlist today with this first video today. Cool? Electronic devices, welcome to use electronic devices, of course, but I just ask you guys to use it for the purpose of the class. If you have a computer, a smartphone, or whatever you have with you, use it for the purpose of the course. The eating and drinking that I mentioned before is was an email that I guess everybody received 2 days ago saying that eating and drink is not permitted in the class, so we have to leave the room to eat or drink if you prefer. And so really straightforward, really clear. This is pretty much, I just copy and paste the email from the office of the provost. University Writing Center, for those people that are having trouble answering the open, the short essay questions on the quizzes, I suggest you going to the University Writing Center if you have issues there. Of course, I guess they might also be working a different schedule now, probably online, but you can get more information about them in this email, in this website. Class participation, more people participating, the better. I don't know. Did I allow you guys to unmute yourselves? Can you guys unmute yourselves there? Can someone try to unmute and say something?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Nobody wants to talk.
Hi.
Where do I do this? What's right here? But anyways, I just help that you guys participate the most as you can in the class. Demography can be really controversial topics on every single topic: fertility, mortality, and migration. Nowadays in the US, we have a lot of issues of people debating, not respecting each other in terms of issues related to migration, and now related to mortality, to the pandemic, and related to fertility, to contraceptive use, to a series of different topics. We're just here, we are doing science. We are not really looking for opinions of people. Everything that we are discussing here has to be based on science. That's what this course is about. So let's base our arguments on science. That's why we are in the university. And the other thing, let's respect each other. So no hate speech will be tolerated in the classroom. And we also, the Department of Sociology has specific policies related to diversity and civility. So let's respect other people. We have a commitment to diversity, and we welcome individuals of all ages, citizenship, abilities, education, ethnicities, family statuses, genders, gender identities, language, military experience, political views, races, religions, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, and work experience. So let's just be respectful to everybody. If you want to read the full statement from the sociology department, it's available on this website. From the sociology website, you'll see in this link here, liberarts.tamu.edu/sociology/homepage/diversity. If you ever go to the sociology website and you think that something you cannot find easier or something should be better organized, just let me know, because I'm the person who organized the website in our department. So, and this is the general statement about academic integrity and in terms of for the whole university, and the main code in the university, UNEG, does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. We will have all our exams being done at home in that really large, wide time window. It's open book, so you can look at the textbook, you can look at your notes, you can search for things online, but I just asked you to don't talk to each other during the exam. So we are just trusting each other here on throughout this semester, right? So it's open book, you can look online, you can look at your notes, you can look at my slides, you can look at all the course material that's available there. So let's just do it in the right way. So someone asked, so Zoom and in-person is not mandatory, you can watch them on YouTube, no attendance will be taken. Correct. You can just watch the classes on YouTube, but you will not be able to ask questions, of course. So here, if you are here, you can ask questions. If you are at home on Zoom, you can ask questions on the chat. And no attendance will be taken. In previous semesters, I would give a piece of paper for people to sign it, but that's not recommended anymore to share a piece of paper in the classroom. So no attendance will be done. I could do it in Canvas, but it's just a waste of time. So I would just do it. If you cannot attend the class, that's gonna be okay. This full page here is the new sessions that we are required to include in the syllabus related to campus safety measures. We are all supposed to wear face covering the whole time here. I'm wearing this clear face mask because the disability service required me, but I also just use a regular one, and I'm bringing my wipes here, and you saw that I don't have my backpack with me. I have the minimum things, really trying to be as safe as possible. And I did come to this classroom as that picture that I sent it to you by email was exactly of this classroom here. And, but unfortunately today we started late because of technical issues, but I'm doing everything to be as safe as possible throughout this semester and throughout whatever time we might have to keep doing in this way. So just follow this. Students who have a fever exhibit symptoms of COVID-19 should participate in class remotely and should not participate in face-to-face instruction. You can watch from home on Zoom Live, or you can watch on YouTube afterwards. Face coverings must be properly worn in all non-private spaces. Physical distances should be followed. To attend a face-to-face class, students must wear a face covering or a face shield if they have an exemption letter. I had the option to wear a face shield, but I think that's safer to everybody just to wear a mask.
If a student refuses, and you're supposed to cover your nose too. You're in the first row. Hey, good. Over the nose always. Cool. If a student refuses to wear a face covering, the instructor should ask the student to leave and join the class remotely. If the student does not leave the class, the faculty member should report that student to the student conduct office for sanctions. And additionally, the faculty member may choose to teach that class remotely. I can close this whole system here in less than a minute and leave from that door if I see that someone is not wearing the mask correctly. I'm really good at this. Cool. So I train, so in less than 1 minute, if someone is not covering the mouth and nose, I leave. That's it. Cool. And I will just follow the university rules. I'm putting myself here to risk too. Faculty were supposed, only 25% of faculty were supposed to have face-to-face classes. I'm Brazilian, I'm international, and the federal government was kind of creating that rule that international students had to attend at least one class face-to-face. The government instead took that rule out, but still, new international students, both undergraduate and graduate students, have to have a face-to-face class in order to be enrolled in school. So this position here of being face-to-face, it's for the benefit of the students. So the wearing of the mask, it's really simple. And you guys, if you don't like wearing the mask, just watch the class from home or watch on YouTube afterwards. Cool? What's that? Oh. Oh, de qual estado? Eu sou de Goiás. I just talk in Portuguese. I'm from Goiás, the state of Goiás in Brazil. What is the GM link? What is that? Oh, group me. In the US, you guys just talking with acronyms. It's just hard for me to follow. But I'm from Goiás, is the state in Brazil, in the middle of Brazil, close to Brasilia, the capital. These people who are sick and cannot attend the class, they can fill out this absence form. It was really hard for me to find this absence form in the university website. So what I did, I just downloaded and made it available on the course website. It says here valid only for spring and summer, but I clicked on the link to get the form for the fall, and the link was broken. So I just got this form here, and you can just fill out this form. But just remember, this form is just if you cannot attend the class here at home and live on Zoom. And you are like sick, you're in the hospital, or you're doing somewhere else, and you cannot attend the class. But the advantage of this specific class is that I will post everything on YouTube. Even if you have to watch a little later, it's gonna be there. But for some reason, you cannot take an exam, you cannot watch all the classes before the date of an exam. This is the form that you should look, that you should complete. Hey, if someone writes something here and I don't see, can you just tell me? Like you just did, just, hey. Yeah, so just laugh or do a sign. Because it's right here, but I'm looking on the left. Absence policy, it's related to the previous one. And this is more in the case that if you are, you have an accident or something like that, and you have a doctor's note. But just remember, this form here, this absence form, it doesn't have to be signed by the doctor. It's just something that you can complete by yourself, right? So that's this form here you can do by yourself that doesn't have to have the signature of a medical doctor. It's only your signature. And this is just the previous policy of like you have to provide the documentation. For our case, all this absence policy and all these documents, they are important if you are going to miss the exam, or if you were sick and you were not able to watch the lectures before the date of the exam, okay? Someone said something. I wasn't paying attention. I mean, guys, let's just talk like serious in the chat, because that happens even in faculty meetings. People start talking stuff in the chat that's not serious. And they're just like, otherwise I will close it. Cool? Let's just be cool. Makeup policy. The makeup policy is pretty much for the exams. You have to complete in a time frame of no more than 30 calendar days. And I just, in that case, just complete the absence form and explain why you're not able to do the exam that day. All exams, all makeup exams, they are harder than the original exam. If you can't take the exam on the original date, it's better because it's easier than the makeup exams. Is that clear? Americans with Disabilities Act. So we have an office here, disability service for students with disability issues. And that's the reason that I'm wearing this clear mask for this class here. So if anyone has any issue, can contact disability.tamu.edu if you cannot follow the class for some reason, okay? And you don't have to identify to myself if you don't want to. You can go directly to the center and they will contact me. The Title IX statement is also really important, related to allegations of sexual assault, sexual discrimination, sexual harassment when they involve Tamil students, faculty or staff, or third parties visiting campus. This is just to say that there are a series of resources in campus that you can report any of these issues: sexual assault, sexual discrimination, sexual harassment. If you have been sexually assaulted, you have the option for help. And reporting resources will report your assault to the university, and non-reporting resources will keep it confidential. So how does it happen here? You have all these different places at the university that if you report to them any of these issues, they will have it to report it to someone above them in the administration. I am a reporting resource. So this here, any Tamil employee are mandatory reporters, except counseling and Buto. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly. But professors, any Tamil employee, staff, they are reporting resources. If anyone has an issue of sexual harassment, sexual assault, anything, they can report to us. But in my case, if you report to me, it's mandatory that I report to someone above me in the administration. In that case, probably the head of the Department of Sociology. If you want to report it to someone, but you don't want that information to spread, you just want to talk to that specific person, then there are different services and centers that you can do that kind of report. Those people here are non-reporting resources. You talk to them, you don't pass the information along if you don't want to. Is that clear? So all this information is available here with addresses, websites, and phone numbers. Is that cool? Is that clear? And there is this website called also tellsomebody.tamu.edu that you have to report. You can report as well if you want to do in a more anonymous way at the beginning. The last page, it's about the calendar of activities and course topics and exams. This calendar can change throughout the semester, so it's tentative here. And here I write here the topic of that specific class. So today we're supposed to talk about the syllabus and then start the slides on Introduction to Demography. And here on this column, I just post which chapter of the book you should read. So post on is the author of that book. So that's why it's P.1 here. So it's pretty much chapter 1 of the Poston's book, the one that I mentioned in the previous pages. Yep.
So it has the P1 by Tuesday. That means like have it read by Tuesday.
Yes. Yeah. Someone, I don't know if you guys can hear him from home. Someone asked if you, the P1 here, you have to read it by Tuesday. Yeah, that's what I recommend. I recommend you reading the chapter before coming to class. Of course, for today's class would be hard, but I recommend you reading that specific chapter by that specific date, because then you better follow the class, and you can actually ask more questions and benefit more from it. Cool? And the last day, nothing is due until the 27th. No. You know why? I thought about it based on the previous semesters. Someone asked this here. The last day to add, drop classes this semester, it's on Tuesday, the 25th. So maybe some of you might leave and some other people might come into this class on Tuesday. So I decided to don't put any quiz, anything before that, because if some other people join the class on Tuesday, those people will still be able to take the quiz, right? So the first quiz, it's gonna be on Thursday, August 27th. Is that clear? Cool. As I said, I will use that textbook as the reference. I will add other things in the slides as well. And the order is not going to be exactly the order that the chapters appear in the textbook. So after the first chapter, we will jump to chapter 10, age and sex composition. And then chapter 12, about world population change over time. And then chapter 13, about population change in the US. Because these chapters, 1, 10, 12, and 13, they give an overall idea of issues that are going on in the US and in the world related to all topics in demography, fertility, mortality, and migration. So I just prefer to introduce it by going into those chapters first. And we will have all those quizzes in each one of these days here. The exam 1, worth 20 points, is going to be on September 15th, and is the material from the lectures 1 through 7. So if we get late and we don't finish chapter 13 by September 10th, then we will just cover the material from lectures 1 through 7 that were covered in the classroom. That's why I wrote this way here in the syllabus. It's the material from lectures 1 through 7. Not specifically those chapters here, because if we get late, the subject of the exam will be different. But the exam will happen exactly on that date. Is that clear? The chapters might bounce around, but not the exam date. And then, are the exams cumulative? Yeah, I mean, it's like I said before, I don't know if this is what you're asking. This is how it is. The exams, the first exam is 20%. The maximum of points that you can get is 20. And the exam 2, the same thing, 3 and final exam. Will the first quiz be just on chapter 1, or it will be both chapter 1 and chapter 10? I explained it here. I don't think I mentioned that specifically. The content of the quiz can cover any topic we discussed throughout the course up to the day of the quiz. So if at the day of the quiz, I just covered up to chapter 1, so it's going to be just about chapter 1. It will not cover chapter 10. And Lauren Jones, did I answer your question? No, Diana, it's okay. I didn't read that sentence before. I skipped it, so thanks for asking. And Lauren, cool, thanks. That's clear now. And then you will see in the calendar of activities that we will have 20 quizzes, and then we will add up to 20 points. And then we go to more formal topics in demography related to theories of demography. And then I will show you some sources of demographic information, sources that you can get online. And then the chapter about fertility, the chapter about mortality, and then the exam 2 covering the topics that we cover on lectures 9 through 15 as I write here. And in all those days, we have quizzes. The way that I organize after exam 1 is that the class right after the exam, there is no quiz. And then we have quizzes pretty much every day. And then after exam 2, we don't have quiz that day, but then we will have it in all the other days. And after exam 2, we will have chapter 8 on internal migration, followed by international migration. And then race ethnicity. And I think that the chapter of race ethnicity is going to be broken here. We will have the exam 3 up to the point of that chapter that we covered. And then we finalize with chapter on race ethnicity, family and sexuality, contraception, and birth control. And as in previous semester, I don't think I will be able to cover these other topics here: population distribution, population policy on the earth in the 21st and 22nd centuries. What I could do, but it's not certain yet, I could create bonus assignments over those 100 points about these 3 chapters. So you'd have to read these 3 chapters to do that assignment, but that would be bonus points over the 100%. And just remember, the final exam, what does it mean I am down?
You like the idea.
Oh, cool. All these slangs. The final exam is in the day assigned by the university, and that's on a Wednesday. So just remember, it's not on Tuesday or Thursday, it's Wednesday. Our classes finish on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Then we have Thanksgiving, and on December 2nd, on Wednesday, after Thanksgiving, we have the final exam. And the final exam covering the material from lectures 24 to 28. So actually it's gonna be shorter. The final exam does not cover the whole content of the course. It's just about that specific portion. Cool. Any questions? All clear? You go until 4:30, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. And I'm really sorry about this technology. You saw that the guy had to open the desk here to fix it. So I was not just being I have to be careful with the word that I use by not knowing how to use the technology. Can people at home see the slides? Cool. Let me just move. I don't know if I can make this a little smaller. Let's put this like this. And let me see if I can do this. Pointer, laser pointer. Cool. So we start here on chapter 1 from the textbook, Introduction to Demography. And the way that I subdivided the topics here for this class are: what is demography? We talked a little bit already by reading the syllabus. And then I added this subtopic here, COVID-19 pandemic, which is related to one of the components of demography, which is related to mortality. And then we're going to talk about the demographic equation, and then about variables and observations, demographic models, cohorts and generations, and the axis diagram. You will notice when you read the chapter, that variables and observations, demographic models, and the Lexis diagram are not there. So these are things that I'm adding more than the textbook. But everything that I'm adding, it's here in these slides and you can already download. Cool? So what is demography? Demography is a scientific study of human population. And the term was coined by the Belgian statistician Achille Gilliard in his book in 1855, Éléments de statistique humaine ou démographie comparée. So it's pretty much the elements of human statistics or compared demography. And so he is the person who first used this term demography as a science that it would study human populations. And another term that's usually used a lot in demography is by saying that demography is destiny. And this phrase is attributed to the French mathematician and philosopher Auguste Comte. And he's known as being the father of sociology. His main idea is that demography can tell us a lot of what's going to happen in the future of a specific society. Demography shapes the world, even if it does not determine the world. It's associated with a lot of different fields in our society. It's associated with economics, it's associated with sociology, it's associated with political science, it's associated with all these different sciences that we have in in the world. Let me just see. It's okay. Population change is an underlying component of almost everything happening in the world today, and therefore is the future as well. Some people don't like this term anymore. Demography is destiny, because it's kind of a little presumptuous to think that demography is the most important thing, is the most important science that we have out there. But the idea is just to show that how people, the patterns that people are having children, fertility, how many children they are having, is it falling the rates or increasing? Mortality rates, the incidence of specific diseases, and how people move around the world and within countries. All these things, they shape how we live. They shape how the cities are designed. They shape how rural areas are designed. They shape how the economy is designed. They shape our choices for political candidates. So all these things are related to, are associated to demography. I'm not saying that demography is the most important, but it's associated with all these other topics. Cool? And John Grant, he's the first, he was an English statistician, and he is considered to be the founder of demography because he used a lot of vital registration data from London and tried to understand the patterns of mortality back in London. So he studied the bills of mortality in early modern London. What are these bills of mortality? They were pretty much weekly statistics of deaths. So information of, it's pretty much the death certificates that we have nowadays. He just got the death certificates from early modern London, and then he analyzed who were the people who were dying by age and by sex, and also by area of residence. So he started to see some patterns of how people were dying in London. And he created some methods to analyze these patterns of mortality and the levels of mortality. So he was the first one to develop these methods that we actually are the basis of a lot of methods that we use nowadays in demography. So he studied death records that had been kept by London parishes since 1532. And he noticed certain regularities in death phenomenon. And he published these regularities about mortality in London at that time in this book, Natural and Political Observations Made Upon the Bills of Mortality. So he pretty much used this death certificates that had information about age of the person who died, place of residence, and sex, and then he could see these regularities, and that's when he published this book back in 1662. What were his main findings from this study? He recognized the phenomenon of rural-urban migration. Urban death rates at that time exceeded rural death rates, so urban death rates were higher than rural death rates, and he kind of saw, based on these death certificates, that some people were born in specific areas in the country and they were moving to London. So he noticed a lot of rural urban migration going on in England, and based on this data from London. And he also realized that the population was divided almost evenly by sex. If you get all women and all men back in that specific society, back in London in the 1500s, he realized that the number of men and women were pretty much equal. But then what he saw is that there were some different patterns of fertility in birth rates and mortality rates by sex. Male birth rate was higher than female birth rate, so less females are born than males. So in earlier ages, children used to have more boys being born than girls, and we're actually going to talk a lot about that during the course. If you get the number of boys being born in a specific country in a specific year and divided by the number of girls, that's called the sex ratio at birth. And usually the sex ratio at birth is above 100 because you get the number of boys divided by the number of girls in a specific year, multiplied by 100. And usually that number is around 105, 104. And he noticed exactly that you had more males being born than females. But throughout their lives, the male death rates, they were higher than the female death rates. So women, they live longer than men. And even today, the life expectancy at birth in our modern society, we know that women, they live longer than men. But so overall, because more boys are born, but then women, they live longer, overall the society has, or at least he recognized at that time that the society in London had equal number of men and women. Are the quizzes, tests and quizzes mainly over these slides, or will a good amount be from the textbook? Yeah, from the textbook as well. So some of the things that you read from the chapters that are not included specifically in the slides, I can ask questions about them. What's your name? Arthur. And Arthur asked if it was good to read the chapter up to that date that I posted in the syllabus, and I said yes. And that's good because if you read something in the chapter that it's not in the slides and you have a doubt about it, it's good to ask before the exam because that could be a topic for the exam. Cool? The presented mortality, Grant also presented mortality in terms of survivorship. He organized the mortality data by age, by the age at which people were dying. So he was the first one to attempt to construct a life table. Even this term today, we use this term life tables to estimate the life expectancy at birth, and they are based on this conceptual idea that Grant developed back centuries ago. And pretty much what he was looking was like, how many people survived up to age 0? 100 people. How many people survived up to age 6? 64. So 36 people died in between here. So really high child mortality. And out of the 64, only 40 survived to age 16. And so on. And then 16 up to the age 36, 10 to the age 46, until everybody died by age 86, right? Organizing data of mortality this way is still used today in demography to estimate the life expectancy at birth. You might all have heard about the life expectancy at birth. Say if a specific country has a life expectancy at birth of 75 years on average. What does it mean? The demographer got a table like this, counted how many people died by each one of the ages or age groups, and then he calculates based on these death rates here. If we were exposed to those death rates throughout our lives, a specific population, how many years on average they would live? If that number is 75, that's the life expectancy at birth of those people. You get these death rates based on these numbers of surviving people to each one of the ages, and you calculate the life expectancy at birth. I will show you in an Excel spreadsheet how to calculate exactly the life expectancy at birth using mortality data for a specific country in a specific year. So you will be able to estimate life expectancy at birth based on data that you might want to collect from a specific place. Oh, that clock there is wrong, so I was looking at it. It was still 3:10. I was like, wow, we stopped on time. Grant also had some methodological contributions. I mentioned before here some of the substantive contributions that he had in his work. He paid attention to quality of data. Even today, demographers, whenever they are using data to estimate fertility rates, mortality rates, and migration rates, they are concerned with the quality of the data, right? They are concerned with whether that data can be, the rates estimated with it can be believable or not in terms of scientific criteria. He exhibited a healthy skepticism of his findings, so he was always questioning himself and tried to develop the best methods to estimate the patterns of mortality in this case. And he questioned the validity and reliability of data as well, trying to always question whether those data, those death certificate data that he was using, the bills of mortality, they were of good quality in order to make these statements that he had. In the textbook, the definition of demography, the one given by Dudley Poston, is demography is a scientific study of the size, composition, and spatial distribution of human populations. Demography investigates changes in population size, composition, and distribution resulting from changes in fertility, mortality, and migration. If you have more children being born, you have a younger population. The composition will be younger. If you have people living longer, so mortality rates decline, you have an older population. The composition of the population will be older. If you have a lot of people migrating to a specific country, migration rates are usually higher around the ages of 25 and 35. So you have a really high proportion of people in labor ages. Demography helps understand what the past says about the future given expected population changes. And this is just a simple graph that I got from this website here, populationpyramid.net, that it gives us some idea of how big the countries are by population, just to show that each one of these countries are represented here, the squares, by the size of the population, how much bigger China and India are compared to other countries. So we are concerned with size, growth, the components. What are the components? Fertility, mortality, migration. The distribution of the population, where people are living geographically. The structure of the population, we have more older or younger people, and characteristics. And characteristics can be socioeconomic characteristics as well, right, of the population. So these questions here are related to exactly those topics that I mentioned before. How large or small is the population? How is the population composed in terms of age, sex, race, marital status? How is the population distributed spatially? And how population changes happen over time? And we are always trying to answer these questions relating to fertility, mortality, and migration. So it's already 4:30. I'm really sorry for the delay that we had today because of this technical issue. I hope it doesn't happen again. And I see you guys on Tuesday. And just to remind you again, in the course website, these slides that I showed you right now, they are right here in this link, lecture chapter 1. There are some extra videos here that if you want to watch, they can be helpful. And then we keep going on the next days. Okay? Thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any questions by email or in the next class. Thank you and have a great day.